Hi everyone, it's Miss Sims here. Today we have another guest artist. It is going to be super fun and I can't wait to introduce you to her. Before I do though, I just wanted to remind you of some of her artwork that she's done from different parts of the United States. So, are you ready to meet our guest artist now? Let's go ahead and do it.
Hey guys, I'm Ashley Polski. I'm a fourth year medical student at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, California. And I'm also an artist, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you.
Thank you so much for being here to join us. We've been looking at your artwork a lot, and so we have picked our top 6 questions that we would like to ask you. The kindergarten question that was chosen was submitted by a student named Jemima, and she was wondering, how do you choose what place you are going to paint?
That's a really good question. It really depends on what I'm painting and what the painting is about. So one of my favorite things to do is to go hiking outdoors and just take my painting supplies with me. So when I'm on my hike, I'll kind of keep an eye out for pretty views that I think would look nice in a painting, and I'll just stop and paint when I when I feel like it. In recent years, I've also been doing a lot of commissioned art pieces where customers will ask me to make a custom painting for them. And so in those cases, my customers will send me a photograph of a view that they would like me to paint, and I'll work with them one on one to come up with the perfect view to make in that painting.
That's really cool. I didn't know that you did custom artwork too. That's very
Mhm.
awesome.
Thanks.
Our next question is from a first grader named Sophie. And Sophie is wondering, why is there a rainbow at the bottom of all of your paintings?
Yeah, so the rainbow is actually the row of oil paints that I use to actually make the painting. So I have an example here. I put all the paintings in these Altoids mint tins, and it's really nice and convenient because you can see I attach the wooden panel that I paint on in this part of the tin. And then here's that rainbow you were talking about. And it's just the line of oil paints that I use to mix the colors to make the painting.
And so then you always just mix it in the bottom of the tin. You don't have to like have your paint palette somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so nice and convenient because like I said, I love painting outside on my hikes, and so it's nice to have everything kind of compact all in one little case.
Yeah, that is such an awesome idea.
Thanks.
Our next question is from a second grader named Maya. Maya is wondering, how do you add so much detail in such a small space?
Yeah, it is really small. It's 2 inches by 3 inches.
Oh, wow.
And I will say that my earliest paintings, when I first started painting a few years ago, were a lot less detailed. So a lot of that detail has come with just practice, experimenting on my own, having fun with it. And now a lot of the detail is really made possible because I use really small paintbrushes. So
Mm.
this is actually the paintbrush that I use probably the most. And if I hold it up next to my hand, you can kind of see it's pretty small relative to the size of my fingers. So, and that really helps get a lot of the detail that I put into the paintings.
Yeah, and that's perfect because our next question was actually from a third grader named Bennett who was wondering, are these finger paintings or do you have to carry a paintbrush with you when you go hiking?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I really like to use this paintbrush a lot. I haven't tried finger painting before, although now that you brought that up, I feel like that would be a really fun thing to try at some
Yeah.
point.
Very cool. Thank you. We have 2 more questions left. Our next question is from a fourth grader named Ella. And Ella's wondering what inspired you to do tiny art?
That's a really good question. So I originally started painting the end of my first year of medical school because I really wanted to have a creative outlet and some kind of nice, relaxing way to de-stress outside of medical school because
Yeah.
medical school can be really busy and hard sometimes. And so it's nice to have these creative things that you can do to balance out the stress.
Hmm.
And because medical school is so busy, I didn't know if I would have time to make big paintings. And I wanted to be able to just sit down and make a painting all in one sitting. And
Hmm.
so that's originally why I started doing the tiny art. And it was so fun and different, and that I really just fell in love with it, and that's why I'm still doing it today.
That is really cool. I love that idea of making it small. So, a lot of our projects we do, we have to do over lots of days because we don't have a lot of time in art class. So, I think the kids are going to love that we get to try tiny art next and
Yeah.
finish it all in one day. Our last question, Ashley, is from a fifth grader named Mustafa, and he is wondering, how long does it take you to finish one painting?
Yeah, I so that's something that has kind of evolved over time. Like
Mhm.
I said, my paintings, I think with practice have become more and more detailed. And so I actually take a bit longer to make these paintings now than when I first began.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
it really depends on the amount of detail in the painting, but I would say that usually they can take anywhere between 4 or 5 hours all the way to 10 hours for really, really detailed paintings. So it
Oh
just
my
depends.
gosh. That is a lot of hours for such a tiny little space.
Yeah, usually those longer paintings are things like buildings that have a lot of tiny little details or that are supposed to be really precise, but it's fun to go, like usually when I'm painting outdoors, like mountain scenes or something like that, I usually make those a lot faster because it's
Okay.
kind of just you can just freely paint the mountains and it's not as precise as some of those cityscapes that I paint.
Right, definitely. Well, thank you, Ashley Polski, so much for all of your time and for talking and answering all of our questions. And we really appreciate everything that you've done for us here at Rock Creek.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Now that we got to learn a little bit more about Ashley Polski and her amazing tiny artwork, please don't forget to write her a thank you card. Remember, that's a great way to be a community contributor, is to show how much we care and how much we appreciate all the time she took for us. That is it for your lesson today, and I will see you next week for art class.